You know, when you start watching a show that is new to you and then you check the seasons, you're like, oh, every single season is out. This show's already ended. I can watch it all right now. You just binge it over a weekend and it's great. You have such a fun time. That's partially what today's video is about, except for comics. I'm going to be listing 10 binge worthy comics that I think you should check out. And something that I kept in mind for this list was how easy it is to get a hold of these comics, because there were some comics I wanted to put on the list. And I'm like, oh, how easy it is. If I recommended to someone, could they just go on Amazon and get it? And some of them not. For example, I wanted to put Ed Brubaker's Daredevil on here. I think it's great. Marvel released two omnibuses for it. They really could have done it as one, but they did two like smallish hardcovers that are more like an epic collection than an omnibus. But anyways, Marvel calls them an omnibus. Second volume you can get easy. The first volume is $800. So I was like, oh, scratch that. I'm not putting that on the list. I'm not recommending a comic that people have to pay $800 for. So every comic on the list is pretty easy to get and it won't cost you that much money. So I kept that in mind for the list. So anyways, let's get into it. First up is Criminal, which is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' crime anthology series, and it's awesome. There's 3 deluxe editions out that you can get. They're super easy to get. I think it's between like $30 to $40 for the most part if you go on Amazon to get them. And again, easy to get, really nice. These big hardcovers are really cool, and I love Criminal as a series. They just focuses on a different character for each one, for each arc, and it's sort of connected for the most part. Like for instance, for the first arc, it's all about this one guy like named Leo. And then the next arc, it's really cool. It's about a different character. But then at one point, he goes and he visits and talks to Leo because he has to. And it's really cool at that part where you're in the comic. He's like, oh, I know that guy. I was inside that guy's head for like 6 issues. So you kind of know where Leo's coming from before like this guy even goes to talk to him. And there's like a lot of stuff like that. And of course, it's Ed Brubaker. So it's written so well. And Sean Phillips, what's really cool is you can see how his art style becomes even better over time, because reading the beginning of Criminal and then once you get towards the end, you see that it's great at the beginning too, by the way. I'm not saying Sean Phillips is bad or anything at the beginning, but you can see how much better he gets. Like he is at the top of his game currently with the stuff he's doing, and it's really cool to see that. Also, there's going to be a TV show coming out for Criminal, I believe, so might as well check out the comic before the show comes out. It's really good, and again, it's easy to get a hold of all 3 deluxe editions. Next up, and by the way, this list is in no particular order. It's not best to worst or anything like that. But anyways, next up is an omnibus that just came out, which is Superman by Philip Kennedy Johnson Volume 1. This collects his short little time on Superman, and then it collects a lot of his Action Comics. It collects the entirety of Warworld Saga and the lead up to it with Warworld Rising. It also has the horrific Superman and the Authority comic from Grant Morrison. So it's kind of annoyed that they threw that in there. Like, it does lead up to Warworld because that's the team he has on Warworld Saga, but still, it's kind of like, I wish they wouldn't add that in there, especially because it's in the first half of the book. So if you're reading this and you hit that road, you might just be like, I don't know if I feel like finishing this. So I'd recommend, if you're binging this, skip that. It's not worth it. You don't need to. All you got to know is that Superman just has a team. That's it. You don't need to know how the team got put together. Grant Morrison written some amazing comics. Superman and the Authority is not one of them. Anyways, this collection is amazing. It's like $85 on Amazon. It's $125 sticker price. It is so good. Warworld Saga is a modern classic. It's one of my favorite Superman stories ever told, and it's very new. It's really good. You get to see something that Philip K. Johnson does really well is lore. He's really good with building backstories into like different cultures and to just different characters and worlds, and he's amazing at world building. And you get a lot of that in here with Warworld and the War Zones. You learn about Mongol and what being Mongol means, and it's so cool. Just for instance, Warworld has all these different factions of all these different types of creatures and people, because they've taken from all these different cultures all around the galaxy, because they go and they kill a bunch of people and they take the people that survive and they fight on Warworld. And then Mongol isn't just one guy. Mongol means strongest in their language, and so whoever is the strongest becomes a Mongol. So there's been a bunch of Mongols, and they talk about how like, oh, this tribe hasn't produced a Mongol in 200 years. They ain't doing so hot. This tribe's like giving us 8 of our last 20 Mongols. They're on a nice streak. Like, it's really interesting. And also in this omnibus, which was really cool and something that was a treat for me, because I've read everything in here prior to the omnibus, but in the back there's some extra goodies. There's a map of War World, which is really cool. There's pages from Clark's journal while he was on World, which is amazing. I am tripping over War World so bad right now. I don't know why I can't say it. Sorry. But Philip Kennedy Johnson has such an amazing voice for Superman, and reading what he's saying in his journal is so good. There's a really cool bit about how Clark talks about how there's no trees on War World, so there's no paper, so no one writes anything down. It's like, how does he do his journal? He explains it to where there was like this tent that they had that he took, and he like was able to make paper out of by putting it over a fire and stuff. He did this whole process, but he's like, there's not paper here, so no one writes anything, so all the memories that are happening are fleeting. Like, as soon as they come, they go, because no one documents anything. Nothing's written down. It's like, wow, that really lets you know, like gives you a little peek inside the culture of War World. He talks about just everything is just violence, and that's all they really care about. And I don't want to get too much into it because it's amazing. You should read it for yourself. And there's a lot in here. Not all of it is War World Saga, but the other stuff's really good too, other than Grant Morrison and stuff. But War World Saga is the main reason you're getting it, and it's a great binge-worthy read. Check it out. It just came out. You should get this. Next up, we got Uncanny X-Force from Rick Remender. Rick Remender is one of my favorite writers, and he had a cool run on Uncanny X-Force before Marvel did him really dirty, and now he's writing some great independent stuff. He's written a lot of good independent stuff, and he's going to be on the list a little later, too. Spoilers. But his X-Force run is fantastic. He writes one of the best Deadpools ever, and I mean that in not just he's Deadpool and he's making dick jokes, but the way he characterized Deadpool is so well done. And he does some really cool stuff here with Apocalypse, and you can get it in, I have the Epic collections. They did 2 volumes of the Epic collections, or you can get the omnibus. I think if you get both the Epic collections or just the one omnibus, it's similar pricing, but they're not too hard to get, so you should definitely check it out. Some amazing art in here, some really trippy stuff as well. Some things are a little confusing, but it's really good, and you don't really have to have read anything prior. It's great to have prior knowledge of these characters, but if you don't, you can still get in, you'll figure things out, and it's great. And I really, really enjoyed how Rick Remender was able to spotlight each character in X-Force. And of course, their suits are so cool in this. I love it. This is when we get the silver and black suits, and it looks awesome. But Uncanny X-Force from Rick Remender, amazing. Next up is Gideon Falls from Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. You're going to want to get the Deluxe Edition 1 and 2 for this, because they did do an omnibus, but I believe it's out of print, because when I was looking online, it looked really hard to get a hold of, and the copies I found was like $200, to where the Deluxe Editions you can get for much cheaper. And there's only 2 Deluxe Editions that collects all of them. I think it's like 27 issues about, and it's really good. This is a horror comic. Andrea Sorrentino I've said this a million times before, but it's because it's true. He has some of the most unique and cool panel layouts of any artist working today. The things he's able to create are so amazing, and you won't see anything like it in any other comic, and he's really able to go full bore here with this Jeff Lemire script for this horror comic. It's so good. There's not much I really want to say because I don't want to spoil it, because you're best going in knowing nothing about Gideon Falls, because it's an original comic. I believe there was supposed to be like a show at one point, but it never happened. I have no idea if they're still working on that. It's something that could really work well as a show, but it's really cool. It's very trippy. Again, it's a horror comic, but even if you're not a fan of horror, I think you'll still enjoy it, because Jeff Lemire is a very talented writer, and Andrea Sorrentino's art is beautiful and cool and will have your mind just feeling things. Next up is Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang. Now, this is the New 52 Wonder Woman. Some people hate this because there's some things they did to the Amazons that I won't spoil that people did not like. The Amazons are not the greatest people in this. They do some bad stuff, but also it feels very Greek mythology, which is very much what this run was leaning into. It goes full Greek mythology, and you'll see like people in Greek mythology doing horrible things all the time, people that aren't necessarily bad guys. So I wasn't necessarily mad about what the Amazons did, but I understand people who don't like it. But if you can get past that, the story that's told here from Brian Azzarello is so cool. It's a epic. It's literally from issue 1 to the final issue. It's all one big story, and it's told really well. It's not in sort of a, wow, this is really dragged out, get to the point sort of thing. You get payoffs in between, and it's really good, and you just read the whole omnibus, and it's very much fits the binge-worthy that I'm trying to fill in here. It really fits that, because it is something that you'll binge it all and you'll be very satisfied, fulfilled. And it's really cool, the journey Diana goes on. And New 52 was rough at parts, but one of the things that wasn't was Brian Azzarello's run on Wonder Woman. What him and Cliff Chiang did was really cool. Ares is a big highlight in this book for me as well. He's not in it a whole lot, but for the bit he is, he's great. I love the New 52 characterization of Ares. He's much different than any other version we've seen. He's really cool. And yeah, I think it's a great comic to binge. But that being said, just know that it is divisive because some people really don't like what they did with the Amazons, and some people don't like the changing of Wonder Woman's origin as well because they changed it where she's no longer made from clay. Some stuff happens that, again, I won't spoil, that some people don't like, but I didn't mind. Next up is Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja, another modern classic of a comic, although it's like, what, a decade old at this point or something like that. It's amazing. David Aja's art style fits this world that Matt Fraction built for Clint perfectly. Clint gets an apartment building and he runs it, and he runs into all sorts of problems by trying to run this apartment building, and it's really, really good. It's really fun. And it does take a little dip partway through because Kate goes to the West Coast and house sits for some random couple, and it's not very interesting. And I'd much prefer if they just stuck with Clint during that. But that's only one arc. That's like 5 or 6 issues, something like that. But the rest of it's amazing, and you can get the omnibus pretty easy. So easy to get a hold of. Great fun comic, really fun read, and just it'll make you really like Clint. If you don't understand why people like Hawkeye, if you didn't really care for him in the movies, check this out because it'll make you a Hawkeye fan. And then you'll be disappointed because there's not very many great Hawkeye comics out there, and not a whole lot that live up to what Matt Fraction and David Aja did. Next up on the list is a comic I don't really have to say too many words about because everyone's constantly talking about it nowadays, and that's Invincible. So I myself binged this when the first season of Invincible dropped. I'm like, I need to read the comic first. I've been meaning to for years, but I just never did. Now the show's out. I should read the comic first so the show doesn't spoil the comic for me because I have a feeling the comic's probably better. I bought all 3 compendiums. I read them all, binged them all straight, and it was amazing. It was so good. It has some dips. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of the dinosaur arc. I thought the whole part with dinosaur was not as strong as the rest, but I still really enjoyed it. And this journey that Mark goes on and seeing everything he goes through is awesome. And it's much better than the show. Granted, I've only seen the first season of the show, but watching the first season, it just felt like an inferior version of the comic in basically every way. Just watching the show. It wasn't bad, by the way. I liked the first season, but it didn't make me want to watch future seasons because it was just like, man, every change they made in the show is worse. And also, it's something I disagree with people on the show is a lot of people much prefer Debbie characterization in the show. And I don't. I think it's a lot of people are like, wow, she's so much stronger, more independent, and better. And it's like, not every character needs to be like a strong, independent badass, and that's not who Debbie is. So changing your character doesn't necessarily make her better. Stronger doesn't mean better character. But that's just one change. There's a lot of changes that they do. But anyways, Invincible, if you haven't read the comic, you should read it, especially if you like the show. Just read the comic. It's so good and it's so easy to read, and you can just read it all at once. It's amazing. Next up, we got Batman by Paul Dini. Now, this is collected in an omnibus, and they did 2 different versions. They did like an older version, a new version. I think the only difference is the new version has Detective Comics 1000. I believe that's the only difference, but you can get either, whichever is easier for you to get that one. But when I was looking, they look both pretty easy to get a hold of. So whatever's cheaper at the time, get. But anyways, Paul Dini had a really cool run on Batman. He was on Detective Comics and Streets of Gotham, and then he did some other random stuff in between. But what this really holds that I think is the best of it is you get this whole Hush saga from Paul Dini. Now, hold up. If you're like, Hush, I don't really care for that. If you didn't care for what Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee did or are currently doing with Hush 2 is so bad, then you'll love this, though. Even if you're like, I don't like Hush, I don't think he's a good character, give this a chance. And also, this is only part of it. The rest of it is like mainly Paul Dini's Detective Comics run, which is really cool. Mostly one and done stories, which with a few arcs in there. I really like what he did with Riddler. He did some cool stuff. We get to see Batman team up with Riddler at one point, and Riddler like sort of becomes he became kind of like a private eye or something. Like, you hire Riddler. I remember there's a point where Bruce hires Riddler just to see if Riddler would come to the same deductions he did, and it was really interesting. But yeah, there are a lot of cool one and done stories in Detective Comics run, and then his Streets of Gotham is a lot of Hush, and what he does with Hush is so cool. You get Heart of Hush, you get House of Hush, you get I can't remember what the name of the other one is, but you get like several Hush storylines that are really good. And Dustin Nguyen is the artist on the Hush storylines, but there's several artists in his Detective Comics run, I believe. And it's really good. Again, if you don't like Hush, I think Paul Dini will make you a fan of him. He did a great job with the character. And this is the Hush sequel, which is arguably even better than the original. I know a lot of people didn't like the original, but the sequel, this is really good. What Paul Dini did here, amazing. And again, his omnibus is easy to get a hold of. A great Batman run. You should check it out. Next up, we got Deadly Class from Rick Remender again and Wes Craig. This is their independent book at Image. It first starts off in the 80s. It focuses on these teenagers that are going to an assassin school, learning to be assassins, and they get up to all sorts of shenanigans like drugs and sex and drinking and doing horrible things and killing people. And it's really good. I love Wes Craig's art style. Rick Remender, as I talked about before, is a great writer, and it's from beginning, I think it's like 56 issues, something like that. And by the way, you're going to want to get these deluxe editions. That's the best way to read it. You can get the trades easy, or you can get deluxe editions. There's 4 deluxe editions. That to me is the best way to read it, because I like the giant books. That's what I like. When I go to see movies, I like seeing them in IMAX. I like seeing them on the biggest screen possible. I'm the same with comics. If I can get it in a giant format, that's what I get it in, and that's what I love. They did a great job with these deluxe editions, and you can get them pretty easy. None of them are super expensive, and that's how I recommend reading it. But Deadly Class is really good. You get to see them start as teenagers, and then you get to go all the way to the end to where they're adults, and you get to see how things end for these characters. And they stick the landing. They don't miss it. It's not something where like, oh man, it's so good for 90% of it and they whiff the landing. No, I love the way it ended. I thought it was great for these characters and it all made sense. Deadly Class, again, from issue 1 to the very end, which I believe was issue 56. It's so good. It's consistent and it's a great comic. And the final comic on this list doesn't have an omnibus out yet, but the omnibus comes out in October and all the trades are out and all the issues are obviously out, so you can get either of those. But you can pre-order the omnibus now, and that is All-Star Western, New 52. This is Jonah Hex from Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, and there's various artists on here. It is amazing. I'm a big fan of Jonah Hex. I love the pre-New 52 work that these guys did, Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, and I loved what they did in New 52. And it was a difference from the New 52 because pre-New 52, most of Jonah Hex was one-off stories. They did a couple of arcs like Six Gun War and stuff, but for the most part, it was one-off issues, just one-off adventures. Now, All-Star Western, the comic I'm recommending to you, is like a normal ongoing. It's all connected. It's arc after arc after arc, and you get to see Jonah go from here to there, and it's I believe it's 34 issues or 35 with issue 0, because all New 52 series that started had a 0 at some point. So I think it's 35 issues actually. And the final issue is drawn by the late great Darwin Cook, and it's so perfect. It's just puts a bow tie on the whole run, and it's a great finale for the character of Jonah Hex. I'm very sad that he hasn't had a solo series since, but this, if he never does get one again, I won't be too sad, because this was such a great ending for the character, and it's such a great 34 issues, and it's so cool. It starts off in old-timey Gotham and Old West Gotham. You get to see Jonah Hex meet Amadeus Arkham and team up with him and have to deal with some of the insane people in Old West Gotham. It's really cool. The art style fits perfectly. You get to see Jonah Hex go against a lot of crazy people. He goes against Vandal Savage at some point. You get to see him time travel to the future, well, to our present. He runs into Superman. There's a thing with Booster Gold. It's really good. I love Jonah Hex. He's an amazing character, and All-Star Western is great, and I'm glad that it's finally getting an omnibus, because I believe it was announced to come out like a year or two ago, and then it got delayed, and now it's actually coming out in October, so definitely check it out. Definitely get that omnibus, or again, you can get all the single issues, or you could get the trade paperbacks, but the omnibus is coming out later this year. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What are some of your favorite bingeable comics? Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all later.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, you know I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.